What's up, everybody? I'm Sean. Linda's here. We are
Hi.
talking spatial. Linda's smiling. We're going to talk about something it's incredible. It's emerging. It's not. I don't think it's ready for prime time, and I don't know whether Linda's shaking her head like she's agreeing with me. So we're not going to disagree on that, at least right now. So we're going to talk about basically artificial humans and what their impact is right now and where they're heading. And Linda, you have a whole heck of a lot more experience digging around in this particular topic than I do. I've just kind of skimmed the surface of it, and you've dug a little deeper than me. So, what's your take on this whole artificial human thing and where it is and where it's going?
Oh gosh, that's a big subject.
I
Yeah,
know
I
it's huge.
do. It is huge. I, well, where do I even start? Part of the book chapter that I wrote, that was published about a year ago now, I wrote a book chapter on branding and the future of business, and artificial humans played a fairly large part of that. And it was about how brands are going to have to translate not just their look, their feel, and we all talk about their experience, but it's not really because it's web-based, but actual interaction, because it's going to be a 3D representative of a brand that you can then interact with. And I mean, it's a rise of digital humans that is fueled by artificial intelligence that can actually use natural language processing, which is still really in its infancy, to have an actual conversation with a 3D fleshed out version of a brand or whatever it ends up being. It can be a brand, it can be others. So around that time, I went to CES last, I don't know, January now, year ago, right before COVID actually hit. And I had a meeting with somebody from Wuhan at the time. Yay! No, but I didn't get COVID because he went home to lockdown. I was introduced to Neon, which had just been 4 months old, launched then, and that is another artificial humans company. Very smart bunch of people who are working on creating. And I asked him, I said, where do you think the applications are? And his answer was a very good one. It was wherever companies want it to be. So they are just providing the pipes and the tubes and the technology, and they're looking for partners in the business world to come up with the applications that they need, and they will be used for that. And then I interviewed with Dynamo also, God, a while ago now. It was right before, around when COVID hit too, to be head of sales and marketing for them, based in Portugal. And they're another artificial humans company. And then
Mhm.
there's Soul Machines, which is, as far as I know, the biggest one. There's a couple hundred people that work there. So there's a couple contenders for, artificial human companies that create these things. There's modeling agencies that now have divisions with, artificial humans that are the influencers and the models. And as I said in my book at the time, it's a really good way to make sure that the model represents what you want him or her to represent. So if bad behavior is part of your brand and it's kind of edgy and you want her to have throw a camera to paparazzi, you can do that because you have control. I think my comment was, they'll never get old, they'll never age unless you want them to. They'll never get fat unless you want them to. They can reflect whatever you're trying to communicate. So in terms of the look, and that's great. In terms of interaction, AI isn't quite there yet. And we have a good example of that today, I think, right, Sean?
Yes, we do. We do
And
for
where do I
for
think it's
later on. We
going?
definitely do.
Right. And where do I think it's going? I mean, that is a huge topic. I think it's going to be the way we interact with computers based in the future. I think it's going to be very natural for us to have our own personal concierge. I keep calling them digital concierges, where that interacts, that we can interact with, that can, either mediate between us and all these other technologies that are out there trying to get our attention. And we've talked about that, but also just to interact naturally. It's like you're talking to somebody. And it gets, the rabbit hole goes deep. You can go all the way from, well, what if you can revive somebody who's dead and their features, like I want to see my grandparents and interact with them. And, you can create an AI interaction in the future with a digital being that looks like my grandmother, and, set it in a environment that looks like their house and revisit that. And I think, what was the feed? I think it wasn't the feed. There was another one. There has been a couple of TV shows lately that delve into that subject.
There's
It
one
was
called
quite good.
Upload. It's
Upload,
Upload.
that's the one.
That's
That's the one.
it's more of a comedy, but
But it
It
is, yeah,
is.
but it's
Oh my
did their
God!
research. They did their research.
They
They're
really did.
very good.
Yeah.
And I think the future is less about typing and less about flat screens and more about interacting with 3D, beings. And I think in the short term, they're going to be representatives for brands like the one we're going to show you. And then as time goes on and they get better, they could even be, using AR. You could have them in your environment to interact with. I think I saw this a while ago already, but I saw in Japan they have virtual girlfriends. They have little holograms, the 3D holograms of, a miniature woman, and she can be your girlfriend. And you can talk to her, so you're not lonely.
So it's gone from the pillow to the virtual. It's no longer the. It's not what's oh god. There was James Franco. I can't remember what show he was on. He had one of the pillow.
Yes, that was so Miko, wasn't it?
I think it was
That was hilarious. Yes,
Kimiko or something like that. Yeah.
Kimiko. Oh, was that 30 Rock?
I don't think it was 30 Rock. I can't remember what it was. But
I
was
know. I just remember
hilarious.
Kimiko and his.
So now James has a.
Yeah.
Now James has a hologram.
I've said all the way along, virtual technology is the end of loneliness if we want it to be. And there's, so digital humans is only part of that. I mean, I think it's more about when you interact with things, you can interact with this thing that looks like a human and talk to it like a human. There's some companies that are staking their ground, and the technology is still really young. It's not there at all yet, but it's a start. So
I'm gonna go for a screen share here and
yeah.
pull up Neon, and just so folks that are actually watching can get an understanding. If you haven't taken the dive into the artificial humans pool,
Right.
Look at this.
Well, so so neons they're scanned humans. They're not digitally created. That's why they look so good. When I saw them at CES last year in the demo, you could talk to them. So what they did was they had them read from a children's book to the audience. So the artificial human was on a 2D screen, obviously, but was given something that they had never read before. And they were reading a child's book, and they were doing it with the proper intonation. It's not like, when you get a Gutenberg reading a book and they just go like this, and then they stop, and then they stop, and then they keep going.
Right.
It was an actual, like, I'm telling a story. Oh, kids, like, isn't this exciting? Like, that had the right emotion, so that's the AI part of it.
So this is it's a scanned real person.
I believe they're scanned. I mean, that's why they look so good.
But they're animated.
They move, they talk, they walk. Yeah, no, it's like you're standing in front of another human behind a piece of glass. Yeah.
And they're making a very, they want to make the distinction between what Neon is creating and an Alexa or a Siri. Like right here on their page, it's Frank,
a continuation.
Frank and Hannah, not Hey Neon.
Right.
It's not an AI assistant, not your 3D avatar. Yeah, they want it to be more.
It's personal. It's a person. It's personal. It's not your digital servant Siri that goes, hey, I can't say the name because mine will say, what can I, but yeah, it's a personal assistant, and it's more like a human. It's more personal interaction. And I think that's what they're going for.
This is amazing.
Yeah, really...
this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, to be fair, at CES when the CEO, he said, it's not natural language processing. They can't hold a complete conversation yet. We have, things we're feeding it answers through the tablet that the guy was standing there for, but they were 4 months old. I mean, come on, it was amazing for 4 months. It was amazing at all. And then for 4 months, incredible. So now it's been a year on, so they've moved on even more. They are a bunch of very smart people.
The ramifications that something like this has in the world that we're currently in, with everything locked down, nobody being able to, well, I'm not going to say nobody, because people are starting to, get out a little bit, and they're actually starting to, get within, dare I say, 4 feet of each other instead of 6. But to see this virtual human technology progress, like right here on Neon's site, your next yoga instructor, a financial advisor, a K-pop star.
Well, think about it. We interact so artificially, really, with computers. I mean, we all type, right? And that's something we do so normally. But you think about what a jump it is to go from a thought to words to first place, and then from words to like letters, which is another leap in really, and then we type, and it's a very artificial, ironically, way to talk and interact, but we're so used to it that we find it normal. And it's much more normal to be able to say, hey, I need to make some reservations, and instead of it typing through a little chat box, you get a person on your screen, and you can be like, hey, listen, I want to go this way and this way, but I want to stop in between. I need a stopover. Is there any airlines that'll let me stop over for 3 days without paying extra for it? Blah, blah, blah. And just have an actual conversation with this chat bot, which is what it is initially, that can actually talk to you like a person. It's actually a much more normal and human way to interact. And I think that's the way to look at it, instead of it being, oh my God, it's technology. Yeah, well, so is typing, so is Facebook, so is everything. It's just that we're so used to it that we don't find it creepy. But in fact, it's really much more easy to have a natural conversation with what looks like a person and just talk about your problems. Do you remember when Google started search was you had to do search terms and Boolean terms and quotation marks and all kinds of things. Yeah. And now you just type whatever and it understands what you mean. That is the progression of natural language interface. And this is another generation of that, which is just having an actual natural language conversation. That being said, natural language processing is not at the level that I'm talking about yet, but it is moving towards there.
Yeah, that's the thing right now is graphically.
Now they're scripted. They still have tree scripts where you go this way, that way. If you ask them something way out in left field, they're gonna be like, "I'm sorry, I can't understand you."
Graphically, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The scripting for the conversational side of it, the scripting can actually take that amazing visual and turn it into something a little bit creepy.
I don't, to me, it's no less creepy than having this, Alexa voice from my room going, there's a notification for you. Should I turn your lights off? Did you know I can also do this? Because they started trying to sell me on all their services. Shut up, Alexa.
It's not as creepy as, talking about something yesterday and having it pop up. In your whatever your feed is today. Well, that's even creepier. But
that's a whole nother level of discussion about all this stuff, because the amount of information they're getting from you is much larger than just a text-based interaction, right? They're getting sentiment, they're getting how you speak, they're getting voice prints, they're getting slang, they're getting analysis. There's so much more that they learn from these kinds of interactions that they need to have them work properly. It's not necessarily insidious, but it is, or evil intent, but it's required to make it work better. To the point where they can read emotions. And I don't know if you've ever had this, but when you call, your bank or something, and you try to get on customer service, and you have 10 levels of push 1, 2, or 3 for the next,
drives me insane.
And you start to lose your temper.
Yep.
Supposedly some of those are, and this has been around for a while, but that they can actually read they need to cut it short and get you to a person soon, because your anger is showing through in your voice, right? So that's emotion analysis. And it's not just the words you're saying, it's the pitch, it's the speed, it's the intensity, and so, a well-oiled artificial human in the future will be able to read your sentiment and know that I'm just really in a hurry, just get me the info and do it fast. Or do you want a conversation, or do you have time, and tailor the conversation style to how you are actually feeling as well, not just what you say.
How far out are we before the conversation that we're having with an artificial human feels like the conversation you and I are having?
I'm not deep enough into it to give you a real informed answer. My guess would be at least 10 years, at least. And I know
that's actually quicker than I thought.
Well, I'm going to say
quicker than I thought.
My friends in the AI world are probably laughing at me if I say that. So don't take that as Bible, but
right. No, I mean, absolutely not. It's an opinion.
It's just not as informed an opinion as it should be. And I'd be happy to have one of my friends on who is an AI specialist, and we could talk about that.
Oh, we absolutely need to make that happen.
That'd be fun.
This is it's fascinating, and the applications are truly endless. Like, I'm sitting here thinking about our neighbors that are right behind us. They have 4 kids. 2 of them are in grade school. One, I believe, is in preschool. The other is he's a new model. But it's to be able to put them in front of an artificial human that actually can properly interact and like you were just saying, gauge their
Look like
emotional response.
has
And
to look like Julie Andrews if it does that.
oh, please, it'd be
I mean,
amazing.
that brings up a whole nother thing. So people are digitizing their faces, actors and stuff, because it'll get to the point where we don't need the actors anymore.
Right.
And the smart ones are putting in their contracts that they own the digital rights to their likeness, because otherwise, what's to stop somebody from recreating a movie star that's dead now and just revive them? And there's no copyright laws on their likeness like there was for books
Right.
after that.
The Tupac hologram. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
among
yeah,
others. Yeah,
it's that's going to do nothing because that was totally scripted. It was amazing,
right,
but totally scripted. But
right.
imagine that happening, and then all of a sudden it's Keanu Reeves likeness,
Oh, I'd like that.
and
I'd pay for that. I
you
would
want
pay for having my personal concierge in my house look like Keanu Reeves. I'd do that. Or Jason Momoa. Yes, please. Um, I think that would be fun. I mean, that's the thing. They can license their likeness and make a lot of money too. But then again, I truly wonder if the future is any humans involved in being famous actors, because why take the risk? Right? If you can create an actor that can a fake human that can do the acting, and maybe it's initially like they did Gollum, where you have somebody acting and they superimpose it
it's a
on or
green screen
whatever.
thing. Yeah,
But I mean, the animation and the facial stuff, the musculature of animation and the face is all getting so much better. Like Avatar with how they did that. Like in the future, why bother with humans, and why not just like create your own superstar, which I think is happening
it's
already.
already happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you've
But
got
then
the
why bother with
K-pop hero.
actors? I don't want Keanu Reeves because he's going to get old and gross, and
Well,
or
you can
be
freeze him. You can freeze him right now.
he
And
think he's frozen. I think he should be a little less frozen, then, to be honest. But I just the future lies with the people who are the content creators and of this stuff, not necessarily the actors, because it's becoming you can create whatever you want,
can you
right?
imagine that? Like, I mean, if you're currently a current well-known actor celebrity and you don't figure out a way to lock down your likeness, your features, the way you look, also your speech pattern
Yep.
and your voice, the tone, all
Mhm.
of that. If you don't figure out a way to lock that down in the next 20 years,
Oh God,
we could be
I don't think it's 20. I think
what
next two.
two
Easy.
to okay 2 to
Yeah.
10 years.
Do it
We're
now.
we're walking into Walmart and
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson is saying "Welcome to Walmart," or you've got Brad Pitt behind the counter at Moe's going "Welcome to
Well, and
Moe's."
what's interesting about that is there's enough technology out there that you can capture. Like we were looking before we started this on one shot pictures. So you could take one picture of a
Yep,
face and turn it into an avatar. So if you can do that, um, what's to stop everybody from just taking pictures of their favorite whoever and using that as their 3D
well, it's
thing?
kind of already happened, hasn't it? I mean, it's you can already take your face and overlay it into just about
Yeah.
any scene of a movie
Well, that's a
as the
deep
main.
fake. Yeah.
It's a deep fake, but it's I
Yeah.
mean, well, it's the reverse of what we're talking about. It's sort of like a 180-degree spin on what we're talking about. You're putting yourself into something that someone else has already done, kind of. It's well, maybe it's not
It's
180 degree,
skinning,
but it's
essentially. You're
yeah,
excuse the pun. Yeah, you're skinning uh your likeness onto motion that's already happened. But there's also software out there I've seen that will interpolate the motion that's happening on the screen from a 2D screen and will create a 3D object from it, and you can put a face on it, and therefore you can pull out the action. So you could recreate the movie using somebody else's face.
right.
And that's a deep fake, but you can also take the motion and the acting and pull it out now.
I want to know what is happening deepfake wise that's being shown in mainstream media all over the world that no one even knows. We don't even like it's so good now.
It's good. It's 98% good. I don't know I know there is work being done to identify when it's a deep fake so that it can be, because I think politics are going to get, if you can't trust your eyes because of Photoshop, wait till you can't trust anything because the
Right.
video is well doctored and you don't know the difference. What's real and that's, we've talked about this a number of times. It's a, yeah, slippery slope.
I'm
But
gonna.
yeah, what's to stop people from taking my picture? Because, you know, I'm so desirable as a face to put me on other things and throughout their day. I mean, it's kind of stalkery.
No, it's not
Yeah.
kinda. It
Uh,
it absolutely is. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way around it. Let's spin
Yeah.
this back into artificial humans and look at an amazing use that you just had me pull up.
Which
And
one? Oh yeah, no, this one. This is great.
this is
Um,
too cool. This is amazing. Just it's a great spin on it. I don't.
yeah.
It's not really a spin. This is its own
I
thing.
love it when these things are used for good, and this is one of those examples. So Nikki is a sign language bot, and she can take data from all kinds of different sorts of media and translate it into sign language for people who are hearing impaired. So I think that's a fantastic way to use these kinds of technologies, right? It's not to sell more cookies; it's actually helping people.
So you could have a sign language translator basically anywhere with this tech, and you could more than likely you could put her on a screen or another likeness on a screen that has this artificial intelligence built into it, the way that the translation technology, and you could have a 20-foot tall screen at a live event with an avatar on it, basically translating everything that's going on speech wise.
Yeah, I don't know how this one works well enough, but I mean, ideally, it's like the auto subtitles on YouTube. Like she listens to whatever the input is and actually translate it on the fly. At least that's the subtitles, the auto titles in YouTube do that. That would be fantastic if it's that good.
She'll be able
Then
to preside at the bottom of any screen or on any device, interpreting the spoken language into sign language.
right, and they can make her look like whatever they want her to look like.
Right, right. That's
So
a that is such a
nice.
cool use
Yeah, yeah, it
of
is.
tech. I
Yes.
cannot wait to see more from this. And then I guess what really adds to this is the emotion that's brought in. Like if there's a way that you can actually have, how would you get speech to translate to facial expression? Like how would she
That's what the
know?
neon thing did. That was what the neon demo did. It read a book and it understood the emotion of the sentence, and that's AI. That is the definition of artificial intelligence. It understands context, and it does it through practice, a lot of practice and
That's
feedback.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna sit here and geek out on this for a little bit.
I think she's quick. I mean, she still looks fake, and then that's probably to keep it from being the uncanny valley thing. And neon's gone the other direction. It looks completely realistic, and
right.
I think that's great. I think somewhere between the two. I think whereas it gets weird, where it's almost real and it looks like it wants to be real, but it's not, is where it gets a little dicey
Yeah,
sometimes.
the Kara or Kara technologies,
That was
however you
Kara. Yeah,
pronounce
I
that.
like that one.
Um,
You want to show the other one?
it's definitely not as realistic,
Realistic. No, but they're focusing
but
on an application of it, I think, and
yeah,
that's the interface is more important than having it look realistic, which will come. And that's not important if you think about it. If you think about it, it works. If it works the way it looks, that's great.
right.
And it won't be distracting because it doesn't look real.
Do you want me to pull up Dynamo for a second?
Sure. Pull up Dynamo.
I will pull up Dynamo. All right, here we go. Meet Dynamo.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's they're going for about the same thing that the Neon and Soul Machines is going
Yeah.
after, I believe.
Yeah. Well, Soul
Uh,
Machines is pretty, I think is the biggest, by far the biggest from what I've seen. That doesn't, I could be wrong on that, but Dynamo talks about being able to create a 3D face from one photo.
Okay, there's your difference. The 3D face from one photo. And
Yeah.
I guess it's cool that you could grab it off of one photo, but what about the whole photogrammetry thing where you want to get your depth?
Right.
Like
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why that is. I think that's the technology that Veronica, who's the CEO, developed. She's got a PhD writing about, she has a patents on this stuff. So that's obviously where the focus of the company came from. What are the applications for this? I'm not quite sure right now. It's been a
Gotcha.
while since I looked at them.
Gotcha.
They're based in Europe, so I think
All
they
of
have,
it's
they have
all of it's amazing.
data issues.
All of it's absolutely amazing. It's I'll pull up Soul Machines.
So I've been beta testing a scanning software for a company, and I was trying to get a scan of my head because I want a wireframe so that I can actually try to bring in Blender and animate it and use it for my snap lens
Just
head
add
as well.
stuff.
I'm trying. We didn't get the scan quite right. But I want it to be actually accurate.
Do you just want to do it just so you can have a crown, or
No, no
no,
crown.
no crown?
I want to do it so that I like, you know what drives me is curiosity. Can I figure this out? So for
Right.
me, can I make it work with snap lens so that when I'm on a Zoom call, that's the head that's talking, not my real one?
You could digitize my head and just make me like a narwhal.
I can do, you could, that already, they already could do. So the snap
could,
lens has that. They have a gazillion of these. So I did show up at a meeting once as a potato, which was the eyes that talked, and they went hello, and the eyes, and the mouth. It was really quite good. And I was like, it's all very fun, but I want to see if I can figure out how to do it so that it's my scanned head doing that, not a potato. I don't need to be a potato again. It was
You
very
don't want to
funny.
be Miss Potato Head.
It was hilarious. It had little tiger stripes on the side. It was hysterical.
Could you pull like the facial features off and put them in
No,
other places?
no. It was tiger potato. It was like the Tiger King potato.
It wasn't a proper potato head.
All I know is it made me talk in a French accent for some unknown reason. I was like, hello, I am the French potato. I have no idea where that came from, but it was very funny. But it did an excellent job of tracking my head motion and my eyes blinking and my mouth talking and syncing, which is what SnapLens does very well.
Really?
They are now integrated with their camera. If you use their output as your Zoom camera, you can put their lenses on your face when you're in your Zoom call, which I did, except it was a potato. And then it's very, what I like to call insidious software. It took over my computer. I couldn't get it off. I couldn't stop it. No, I couldn't get it to stop. My camera was only SnapLens. I couldn't go back to not being connected to Snap. So I had to uninstall it. And it probably has moved on since then. I'm not slamming Snap, but I haven't reinstalled it yet because of that. But I want to scan my head and see if I can't do it on a day when I'm like all gussied up and washed. And then I could be like Jane Jessen and just show up for calls with my wireframe head, not my real head. And I could just sit in the back and look snarky and greasy.
Or eventually, once the algorithm is deep enough and the machine learning is there, that we can basically transfer our personalities in.
Oh, that's so far off.
We won't even have to show up for the call.
Well, yes, that's what the camera off is for. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so that's so far off. It's not even, that's still
with Soul Machines here. They're talking about just various applications and
yes,
for a rapidly transforming healthcare market, including the shift to telehealth, which can be augmented with digital people. So we were talking about that yesterday, day before, and I brought up the holodoc from Star Trek, and it kind of, I mean, obviously it's not a hologram. It's not going to move around a room for you,
right?
But
with AI, it could be, or AR. If you turn into a 3D AR.
Could you like in VR? Yeah, you could definitely. Oh my god,
in VR, but in AR too. If it's just an AR overlay, you can have the AR overlay be instead of a whale or a tiger like Google's doing now.
Right.
In the room, you could have it be a human.
We don't have enough time to really dive as deep
Yeah,
as we could dive
it's
into
true.
this.
And I'll be perfectly honest, I have not looked at their website in a little while, so I'm not as up to date as I should be because things change on a daily basis, and so it's hard to keep up on everything.
I would imagine. I
Yeah.
would imagine, but it's really it's exciting and it's a little bit scary at the same time when you
I don't
like
know, the thing
it's
about is it why is it scary? I find that interesting because it looks like humans. I mean, is that a trust issue that you're worried you're going to trust it more because it looks like a human? Because in essence, it's no different than Alexa or typing on your keyboard. You're interfacing with something on the other side digitally, right?
yeah,
It just
I don't
needs
have
to
Alexa in
work.
my house and I don't interface with Siri all that often. So
Or yes.
but I mean I'm not a Luddite, but I'm
No, I
I'm
know. I know
also
you're not.
like it's I think for me it's more getting to the point where
You can't tell the difference.
exactly what is real like
Yeah.
and then
Well,
in my brain it's like okay so we're at a point where I can't tell the difference between what is actual human and what is artificial human and then my brain has to go through this whole process of why do I even care
what does it matter?
why
Exactly.
exactly like why should it matter I
I
mean
don't, yeah. For me, it's just an alternative way to interact with, that's actually much more natural because you're not talking through a keyboard or typing or translating thoughts to, these letters that I then type, which doesn't catch emotion, doesn't catch sarcasm, doesn't catch. I mean, how many times have you typed something into Facebook where you're like, I'm making a joke and nobody gets it because it just falls like it doesn't, they don't get they don't hear the intonation. I actually think it's a really natural way to talk, as long as it doesn't misrepresent itself as being a real human. But humans do that. If you've ever been on a dating site, you know that. you know?
yeah
Yeah.
yeah it's incredible tech and I think we dove in as deep as we're probably going to be able to dive in today because I
Yeah, I
know
agree.
I we could uncork this thing and really sit here for way too long. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. I think episode 9 of Talking Spatial, and we'll get this thing up and show it off to the world here directly. If you have any interest in diving into this more,
Yeah.
we'll put links to Soul Machines, Neon,
Dynamo.
Kara, Dynamo, and
We didn't talk about the Nestle one.
we'll put a link to Nestle's their virtual assistant.
It's their cookie virtual assistant they just launched.
All right, do I need to show that real quick?
Real
Just
quick. It's not, it's an example of where the technology actually kind of is.
all right, where'd it go? I had there it is.
This is for all your cookie related issues.
For all your cookie related issues,
All your
and this
no,
was
no, more specifically, all your Nestle Toll House cookie issues.
this
Um,
was actually the one that for me, I you sent this over to me and I jumped in and I tried it
yeah,
and it was a little it creeped me out a little bit.
it's not very good.
It creeped me out. So we're connecting to Ruth right now.
And I don't know why you can't, yeah, I can't hear it. I applaud Nestle for giving it a try and for being one of the first to actually do this. And from the reactions I've seen on Twitter from people commenting on it, it is perceived as some scary monster, technology, which is inevitable, I'm sure, but it'll become very natural. I don't think she's. I asked her if I could add sesame seeds to my chocolate chip cookies, which isn't even weird. I mean, you could think of some much weirder questions than that to ask, right? And everybody's going to come up with those. And I didn't. I kept a cookie related ingredient, and she didn't understand. She's a very limited set of what she understands and can
Right.
respond to. It's a script. I mean, honestly, it's a very small, narrow bot script that they've implemented with a facial interaction, a facial, a human looking interaction, and that's
Yeah.
it. Not what I would call truly AI at all, for one, but also there's
Obviously,
not much to interact about.
the cookie assistant is logging cookies because when I logged back in, she did say "Welcome back," which was kind of
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy. And
well,
that's
all websites do that. Yeah, unless you
little,
turn that off.
little personal, got a little bit of a personal touch there,
But also means you don't have to go through the whole intro every time that they have. Have you ever
right?
talked to a digital assistant?
Right.
Um,
It's different and it's going to evolve, and I think we're going to get some cool things out of it over the next
oh
couple of years.
yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. And there'll be applications that you and I haven't even come close to thinking about. I love the one about the virtual the language translator. There's applications that are that kind of thing that we haven't even thought about. So absolutely useful. I
the
just want to
sign
leave
language is
everybody
cool.
with one thought. My thought is, why is this creepy and dangerous? Because it really is just a more natural way to actually interact with computers. That's it.
It's
And
only creepy if nefarious people set it up to do nefarious things, and
but they do
they're
nefarious
going to
things
do that
happen.
anyway.
I was gonna
It,
say it happens with the keyboard all the time.
yeah,
So
they're
it's
going to do it anyway. So,
right. It's keep an open mind about the creepy thing. Just because it looks like a human. If they made it look like a Wookiee, would that make it better? Like, does it have to look like a friendly dog?
yes,
Right, like that. Like if it's a pretty fuzzy puppy, well, I would be like, oh, I love talking to the dog. Like maybe that's the answer. Maybe don't make it look human.
kittens
Make
and
it look
dolphins.
make it look like an armadillo. I don't know, but is that it? Is that why it's creepy? It's only because it looks like a humans, but humans misrepresent us all the time, and we already communicate to the screen and the keyboard in other ways and talking. So how interacting by talking? Why is that? Why is that creepy? I don't understand why people find that creepy. So people can
I don't
tell
know.
me. They can all slam me if they want. I don't get it, but I'm very open minded about technology. So we'll see.
Coming from my background, I want to see the first user interface, the first game based user interface
Right.
that goes full interactivity, like full interaction instead of typing in a 2D or
Right.
or taking a mouse and hovering over a 2D screen to go, I want to choose this and I want to do this and I want this gun and I want to be on this battlefield. No,
Right.
basically you just log in and you look at your human, your artificial human interface, and you say, I want to go to
Right.
uh, Fortnite, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and you're in. It just loads you
You
in. And
don't
that,
you don't
they all do
theoretically you don't theoretically need a 3D artificial human to interact with visually to do that, right?
yeah,
So
but it would give it a personal touch. You could
right, I was
actually
just
do
saying,
really cool things with it.
if you could personalize it to look the way you want to, and it can look like you if you want, you can talk to yourself, you can have yourself doing your digital. So I mean, yes, I challenge people to why I do not understand. So people can feel free to let me know what they think about this. Most people are not, holding back about their opinions, but I find it the creepy thing interesting. Like, what is creepy? What is it about this creepy?
I
Because I
think what creeped me out initially about the Nestle one was the avatar itself looks okay. It's not great by any means. It looks okay, but the speech processing was sort of out of sync with
yes,
the
yes,
expressions
and her,
and
her mouth.
and the mannerism in the
Yeah,
mouth, and everything was just disconnected enough to where it triggered a little horror
right.
movie thing in my brain.
Right, yeah.
That's what creeped
I,
me out about that one
I
in
have
particular.
a feeling I appreciate that Nestle has taken a gamble in trying something new and different, right? I mean, that always takes guts. I think they've tried to make her as, ethnically ambiguous as possible. So she could be just about anything, if you look at her. So that was a little trying to stuff too much into one remit, maybe um, and that's, things like that are always a challenge. Like, what does our brand look like? What does it actually look like? And this is something they may have never had to talk about before. But yeah, the speech, the lag was pretty bad. The limited amount of information you could actually get from it was pretty bad, but it's a start. I just hope that
Yeah,
they don't end up going, well, that didn't work. We
never
tried,
mind.
never going to do it again.
Well, I mean, they can't. They're not going to be able to. I don't think anybody's going to be able to take that approach because this is going to become more and more the norm.
I just wonder how
It
long
has
this is
to.
going to be up. I honestly, we'll see, you know, but
It,
but the feedback is going to be it's awful because it is, and then it's going to be like, well, that didn't work. So now that was our test case. Never again.
So our poll for this episode is Nestle's our digital human assistant, days, weeks, months Which one do you? How long do you think it will be available?
I'm going to go with 3 weeks
Three
personally.
weeks. Okay. Okay. It's on record. It's on record. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening to Linda and I talk about just what's happening in AR, VR, XR tech. We absolutely love it. We live it. And Linda, thank you for, I know you're beyond busy right now. So thank you.
That's okay. My pleasure.
Thank you for hopping on, and we shall get back onto a regular schedule and give folks more Talking Spatial here on a regular basis.
Yes, and get guests. We're going to get more guests.
Yes, we're definitely going to get more guests, and we are going to branch out from Facebook and YouTube. And I have this skeletal structure of Libsyn for Talking Spatial that will push us out to basically all awesome podcasts, streaming and all that good stuff. So you'll be able to find us in a lot more places. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you following along with us. And if you could, like, subscribe, tell the world, we'd love to take over the world in some way, shape, or form, not digitally, not with artificial human avatars. But, we'd like to be able to get out there and really enjoy talking about some of the stuff that we are involved in and want to be involved in and are researching on a regular basis. So Linda, have a wonderful evening.
Nice.
We will talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye.